This is the future.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Green here and welcome to another video. I'm going to, in this video, review the whole story of the last contract, because I finished the normal tier and I think now it's a good time to kind of give my thoughts on the bosses that we have to fight, on the rewards that we have to fight, and also to kind of point out again the artifacts that are in the story. But yeah, we'll also give a go to the God Killer, we'll take a look at my fights against Deathstroke, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I'll just start the video by getting the obvious out of the way. You'll see over here some pips against Deathstroke, and I failed to one-shot him, mainly because I constantly failed to combo interrupt him, and as you'll see in the second fight against him, that was because I was doing too well of a job. So this dude, for some reason, has some of the slowest attacks to start off with in the game, or at least has a delay on starting his basic attacks. So when you're trying to combo interrupt this dude, and you'll see that in the second fight, you actually have to wait a little bit longer before starting to combo interrupt than you would wait against other characters, and yeah, that was the main reason I failed the first fight. But we'll get him in the second set. A little bit disappointing, but it is what it is. Now, getting into the subject of this video, how good was the last contract soul rates? So overall, we're going to start about the soul rate bosses and the difficulty of the soul rate bosses. So first of all the bosses were easy. Most of the bosses were not stun immune, so that led to you being able to use the Harbor Harley Quinn League of Anarchy. And even if you didn't have it, I don't think you would have struggled too much against any of the bosses. And even bosses like Enraged Bane, that in theory had a mechanic that would be very punishing if you did a mistake and got hit by an ability, actually were not that punishing. I don't think any of the bosses, literally, you know me, I made guides on the last soul rates on every boss that was problematic, and you guys needed to kind of be helped a bit in terms of a little bit of advice, in terms of how to play against him, how to do better, how to pass them pretty much, because there were some impassable points. Here I didn't make any guide on any bosses, and that was not because I was lazy or because I didn't want to give you guys any advice anymore, but I just didn't feel the need to, because all the bosses were very easy. In my opinion, actually, a little bit too easy, and a lot of people might disagree with me, because, look, there's a lot of new players playing this game and watching my channel, and I do understand that, and I'm happy that you guys had no trouble with the soul rate, and I'm happy that I didn't need to make a video on 2 or 3 bosses on every tier, but at the same time, I think this should have been a little bit more challenging. So we had soul rates that were just dump challenging, like for example Rise of Krypton, where some bosses were extremely hard and some bosses favored use of artifacts in terms of you having to beat them. And there were situations like in Dawn of Apokolips, where for example against boss Darkseid, you would have been better off if you like had the artifact entropy, but at the same time there were definitely ways to pass through his mechanic. So I think Dawn of Apokolips did strike a little bit of a better balance in terms of how difficult a soul rate should be and how accessible a soul rate should be to new players. Maybe it was a little bit too hard, but this one is a little bit too easy, but again, I don't mind it. I'd rather have all the soul rates be like this than all the soul rates be like Rise of Krypton, and overall I'm quite happy with the difficulty, and I don't feel like any of the fights made you like have to have any of the artifacts to progress or have to have any of the teams to progress. You could have fought every single fight using Confluent Sakuman and you would have been fine and eventually cleared it. Now when it comes to the rewards of the soul rate, we're going to get Deathstroke, which is not... It's a good character, don't get me wrong, in theory, but in practice plays absolute garbage. And while this is not necessarily something related that much to the soul rate, I feel like I have to mention it, because it's, at the end of the day, it's the boss of the soul rate, and it's the character that you have a chance to get for free. In this regard, it's better than Dawn of Apokolips and Rise of Krypton, because from those you don't have a chance to get any legendary character, at the very least none of the soul rate specific ones. So yeah, I guess it gets definitely a plus on that. The artifacts for it were absolute garbage, but I'm not really gonna subtract points from my overall rating of it for that, because while they were garbage, none of the soul rate fights, as I said, required the use of any artifacts, so it was overall fine. So overall, it was quite a pleasant experience. I think that I have to mention, though, and it's one of the worst things about the soul rates, and one of the only bad things about the soul rate. A lot of the characters have for some reason the old AIs. So we get in Just Mobile a thing that's called the old AI and the new AI. At some point there was a big update that made the enemy AI behave differently. That meant the enemy AI would not show abilities before trying to start a combo, one of the many things that they have changed with that. And some characters like, for example, Hellboy, Raiden, Sub-Zero have the old AI that will allow them to use an ability without them having any previously done combos, and that kind of messes up the combo interruption and the tagging from a block, so that's just terrible. Like, why didn't you put the new AI on them? Why are you so dumb in terms of that? That's like the only concern in terms of the bosses that you're finding. That's some of them are going to have the new AI, some of them are going to have the old AI, and that's just frustrating and confusing at times. And when it comes to the free artifact, I'm not gonna really give a full opinion on that because I didn't get to test it that much, but you'll see it here. So this thing is going to, in terms of damage, I can't tell how much it helps because the bosses that I'm fighting just have too little health for me to be able to tell. It basically makes the enemy unable to block your hits and gives you some damage. So yet again, in terms of damage, we're not gonna say much because we can't really yet, because there's just not enough health for the enemy characters to go around for us to be able to give a good analysis in terms of that. But when it comes to making characters able to do an infinite combo, there's gonna be a situation where you can like pin the enemy to the corner, as you'll see me trying to test out here. It worked very well with Black Manta, so the enemy has to be in the corner and you finish your combo in a swipe down attack and then begin another combo. As you have seen, Black Manta had no problem doing that, but this thing relies on kind of two things. First thing is going to be how good your swipe down animation will be and how fast your first hit animation will be. You don't get staggered after your swipe down, because there's some characters like Batman Catwoman actually with a very weird swipe down where they get staggered themselves by it. So it depends on the good animation of your swipe down, the good animation of your start of your combo, and how fast the enemy character is going to start a combo. So I don't think an infinite combo will be necessarily available for every single character in the game using this thing while the enemy is in the corner. It definitely opens up some possibility as I've seen so far, and definitely works on Black Manta. So far it seems to be a pretty solid artifact. Definitely does far more than the Chakra artifact that we had for free in Advent of Chaos. So with that being said, some final thoughts on this is that I'm quite happy with the direction that this already went. Again, I still think this is going to be inferior to Dawn of Apokolips, and I'll still regard Dawn of Apokolips as the best story we get so far, and as the benchmark for new stories to be released. But I think that this one is going to be a solid addition and a fresh breath after stuff like Rise of Krypton, with Advent of Chaos being, I think, slightly behind it, because a thing that I really didn't like about Advent of Chaos, and the thing that we don't have here, is we don't have dumb restrictions. Except for like Deathstroke being crit resistant, not even crit immune, we don't have any fights that are just going to tell you you can't deal damage here just because we say so, and you have nothing you can do about it because this character is crit, lethal, fast attack chance, dot immune. There's nothing like that here, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, with that being said, those are my thoughts on the new soul rate, and let me know what you think in the description, and I'll hopefully see you on the next one. Goodbye! And yeah, this is the character reward that we got from clearing it on my main account, and while it's not Deathstroke, let's just be positive about this, it plays better than Deathstroke. Doesn't deal more damage, but plays better. But yeah, goodbye.
This is the future.